Hi everyone! Today we're going to read another book about, you guessed it, honeybees. And this one is actually full of really important information, and so I hope that you listen carefully and then keep track of some facts at the end of it. Alright, here we go. Where you see flowers, you will often see bees. In late spring, gardens are filled with honeybees. There are many other kinds of bees beside honeybees: sweat bee, leaf-cutting bee, plasterer bee, bumblebee, carpenter bee, mining bee, mason bee. Bees are insects like flies and ants and butterflies. And like all insects, they have 6 legs. They have a body with 3 parts to it. Most kinds of wild bees live alone. Each female bee lays her eggs in her own nest. But honeybees live in a large group. This group is called a colony. We've heard that word before. Wild honeybee colonies will find a tree or a hollow log in the woods. They make a nest there. The nest is also called a hive. These wild honeybees are buzzing all around. They crawl over tulips and other bright flowers. What are the bees doing? Well, they're looking for nectar. Nectar is the sweet juice in flowers. Bees make honey from nectar. This bee is drinking nectar. Her long tongue is like a straw. In one day, the bee will drink from thousands of flowers. The bee flies back to the hive. Other bees gather around. They beg for nectar. They stick their tongues right into her mouth. She spits up the nectar for them. She also does a special dance. The dance tells other bees where to find flowers. The bees fly off. They come back with nectar too. The bees spit out the nectar drop by drop. The nectar starts to dry on their tongues. Other bees fan their wings very, very fast, almost 200 times per second. This also helps dry the nectar. Soon it will be thick and smooth. It will be honey. The honey you buy at the market does not come from wild bees. It comes from bee farms. The bees live in man-made hives. Man-made hives are big boxes. As many as 50,000 bees can live in a single hive. Not all honey tastes the same. Different flowers make different nectar. And nectar gives honey its flavor. Clover honey is the most popular honey in America. There's also apple blossom honey, orange blossom honey, tupelo honey, and avocado honey. I wonder how many kinds of honey you can find at the grocery store. Maybe you have heard someone say, "I'm as busy as a bee." Well, hives are very busy places. In every hive, there are thousands of workers, about 100 drones, and 1 queen bee. Worker bees have many jobs. Besides making honey, they also make wax. It comes out of their bodies. The workers use the wax to build the rooms or cells of the hive. Each tiny cell has 6 sides. Some cells are for storing nectar. Besides nectar, the worker bees bring something else from the garden: pollen. Pollen is a yellow powder. Do you like to smell flowers? Sometimes you end up with pollen on your nose. These are pollen baskets. How does the bee carry pollen back to the hive? Well, she has little baskets on her legs. First, she chews the pollen. She makes it into sticky balls, and she stuffs the pollen balls into her baskets, and off she flies. I think that's one of the most amazing things, and if you look very closely at pictures of bees, sometimes you can see the pollen baskets. All worker bees are female. All drones are male. They are bigger than worker bees, and they have huge eyes. They only have one job, and their only job is to mate with the queen bee. The queen is much bigger than drones or workers. This queen is ready to mate. Do you see the worker, the drone, and the queen? She flies out of the hive. All the drones fly after her. Only one drone will mate with the queen, and after they mate, the drones will die. Now the queen is ready to lay eggs, up to 2,000 in one day. She lays her eggs in empty cells. When the eggs hatch, larvae come out. They look like tiny white worms. Workers, called nurse bees, feed the larvae. First, they feed them something called bee milk. After 3 days, the larvae get bee bread. It's a mix of honey and pollen. Soon the larvae are full grown. Nurse bees close the cells with wax. The larvae change into pupae. They grow big black eyes, and they grow skinny bee legs. So interesting. The metamorphosis, so cool. After about 3 weeks or so, the young bee is ready to chew its way out of the cell. Right away, the worker bees go to work. Their first job is to clean the empty cells. Older workers guard the hive. Sometimes strange bees try to sneak into the hive. They want to steal honey. Then there's a battle. Honeybees will fight to the death. A worker can only sting once. That's because its stinger gets ripped out. Soon, the bee will die. A hungry bear sometimes breaks into hives. The bees sting the soft skin on the bear's nose. Ouch! The bear runs away. He wasn't that hungry. Beekeepers are very careful around the hives. They wear thick gloves, and they wear a hat with a bee-proof net. Some beekeepers use smoke. It confuses the bees. Then it's not as hard to get the honey from the hive. Even so, sometimes beekeepers can get stung. Sometimes a hive has too many bees. In late spring or early summer, nurse bees will raise a new queen. They move an egg to a big cell shaped like a peanut. They feed the egg a special food called royal jelly. In about 16 days, they have a new queen. Now the old queen must find a new home. Thousands of bees move with her. All at once, they fly out of the hive. The bees stop to rest on a branch of an apple tree. They form a big ball, and the queen is in the middle. This big ball of bees is called a swarm. It can weigh 5 or 6 pounds. That's a lot of bees. When the beekeeper finds the bees, he has to catch them, and that is not an easy job. Bees do not live a long time. A worker bee only lives about 6 weeks. Often, younger bees throw out old worker bees out of the hive. Before winter comes, they kill off the drones too. Only a few bees will live through the winter. When the weather turns warm, the queen starts to lay eggs. Soon the hive will be full of young bees. It's a good thing too. Did you know that bees help make flowers grow? A worker bee will bring pollen from one flower to other flowers. Strange as it seems, this is how seeds are made. From seeds come new flowers. Bees may be tiny, but they play a big part in nature. Now I know that a lot of this book, a lot of information from this book is just stuff that we have already read about or learned about through our research about bees. And so, I want you to really try to pay attention to something that might be a new piece of information that you didn't have before. And I want you to continue adding words to your glossary in case you heard a new word this time. And I think that's it, guys. Have a great day.